Being a video game hero is way harder than being a villain. Not only do you have to fight way more enemies than the villains do, but you're also expected to not kill any of them because heroes have a code against killing or some such nonsense.
So either you kill Bane...
No, I won't kill him.
You see what we're dealing with here? Thankfully, some video games take the hard work out of our hands by coming up with highly convenient excuses for why the stuff we're doing that definitely looks like first-degree murder is actually non-lethal, so we can go about our day with a clear conscience. Here are 7 of our favourites. Enjoy!
Attention units. Witness report of an assault in progress. Officers needed in Gramercy. Please copy.
In the Marvel Comics universe, Spider-Man is one of the strongest superheroes there is. In fact, it's been said that only Thor, the Hulk, and the Thing are stronger, as illustrated by this picture of them laughing at his pitiful 1-rep max deadlift in the gym. But while you could reasonably expect that being punched in the face by someone who can lift a car over their head would be lethal, you could plausibly argue that the many criminals that Spider-Man spends the game wailing on will be fine because Peter pulls his punches, hitting them with nothing close to his full actual strength.
Does not like screw. This guy won.
What's a lot harder to explain away as not being lethal is when Spider-Man is fighting enemies on a construction site or on top of a tall building and just punts a dude straight off the edge where he plummets several stories to his death on the New York City streets below. Luckily for your conscience, the game has realised this and as such come up with a convenient way for you to both enjoy kicking dudes off tall buildings and not feel bad about it in the form of an automatic webbing device that Spidey presumably attaches to enemies right before they fall off the building.
House rules. Leave your shoes at the door. Unless you're not wearing socks, in which case, buy some socks already.
This activates when they're about halfway down, magnetically pulling them towards a nearby building and sticking them fast to the wall.
I realize the irony in me saying this, but I hope you've learned not to hit people.
Now, I don't know about you, but I played this entire game and never once realised this was a thing, and just presumed that Peter Parker killed like 400 guys during the course of his adventures. But I must say it's nice to know that Insomniac thought ahead and added this useful little gadget to prevent the deaths from piling up on Peter's conscience. I mean, for the time being. These guys are stuck up here now, and it's pretty inaccessible. I guess it's a race against time to get them down before the webbing dissolves. Batman, as we have established, has a strict moral code that forbids him to kill criminals, because if he were to kill people, he'd be no better than those he's bringing to justice, or something along those lines.
Any one of my guys would have killed him.
The city deserves better than that.
That being said, it does require a lot of hand-waving when it comes to explaining why these people who have been brutally beaten by a bodybuilder clad in Kevlar aren't dead, actually. Doing a lot of the heavy lifting is Batman's detective vision, which allows you to scan bodies to determine their status. See? It says unconscious, so actually everything's fine.
So Harley went after the bat? Oh, good for her.
There are also invisible walls on rooftops to stop you punching people off things, and handy bat gadgets to hang enemies from ledges when you don't want them to fall to their deaths.
Someone down. Who the hell did this?
Although that being said, I've never seen any of these guys get cut down. Hope someone comes along soon or we're going to see a lot of skeletons hanging off buildings in Gotham City. The Batman PR machine really had to start working overtime in Arkham Knight, however, in which Batman showed up in the Batmobile, an honest-to-goodness tank armed with a Vulcan gun, a 60mm cannon, and a literal missile launcher. For human enemies, though, it comes equipped with a riot suppressor gun that is loaded with non-lethal slam rounds, so that's fine. What's less fine, probably, is running people over with said Batmobile, though if anyone gets too close, they get electrocuted, which is better somehow. Of course, you can then reverse the car over their unconscious bodies, but again, unconscious. It says it right there in the detective vision, and when does Batman ever lie? I mean, apart from to everyone in the world about his identity. Apart from that.
Heroic brutality.
When the crossover fighting game Mortal Kombat vs. DC Universe pitched characters from Mortal Kombat against superheroes from DC Comics, certain changes had to be made to the classic Mortal Kombat formula. After all, it was fine for the Mortal Kombat characters to do their regular fatalities, and DC villains like Joker were good to jump on the bandwagon too, being as they are immoral mass murderers. But for the truly heroic characters like Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, and Green Lantern, there was a problem. They needed cool, round-ending finishing moves, but it would be out of character for, say, Superman to laser Sonya Blade's arms off with his heat vision to finish off a match.
Magic.
What we got instead were heroic brutalities, which, now stay with me here, are both heroic in that they're being done by Superman, and brutal in that they are quite clearly fatal to the person on the receiving end.
Superman wins. Heroic brutality.
But according to the game, no they're not. So it's fine that, for example, Green Lantern just crushed someone to death inside an energy ball,
Heroic brutality.
or that Shazam powerbombed someone headfirst into some concrete.
Captain Marvel wins.
It's okay though, the legs are still moving. Surely you're not getting in on this too, Batman. I mean, okay, worse than death, but not actually death. Got it. Loophole. When you think about non-lethal characters who try to avoid killing, the T-800 Terminator, who is a murder cyborg from the future expressly designed to kill people, doesn't usually present himself at the front of the queue. That being said, in Terminator 2, the T-800 has a new role, that of protector to young John Connor, who tells his cybernetic stepdad that he doesn't want him killing anyone, a request borne out by the scene in which the Terminator fires a minigun and a grenade launcher at a bunch of cops for 5 minutes without causing any human casualties. Now, clearly no one told the developers of the Terminator 2 Judgment Day game for the Sega Genesis about this until quite late in the development process, because that game is very much a side-scrolling shooter in which you're required to gun down wave after wave of enemy bikers, security guards, and cops with a range of ridiculously overpowered weaponry. Thankfully, the devs were able to salvage the situation by popping some text on screen every time you immobilize an enemy, stating that the motionless body that just lay on the floor and then disappeared had actually only suffered non-fatal wounds. Because there is, as I'm sure many 90s kids patiently explained to mum and dad in the video game store, definitely a way of blasting someone with a 12-gauge shotgun from a foot away that is non-fatal. What are you going to do? Call the on-screen text a liar? Checkmate, parents. Kids love Fortnite as much as Fortnite loves not crediting the creators of the dances it copies, which is something of a problem for a third-person shooter in which you use actual real guns to shoot bullets at people. Or, more importantly, a game in which Baby Yoda appears. I swear, if any of you touch a hair on that kid's head, there's going to be trouble.
This is the way.
Thankfully, however, it turns out that none of the various people, or fish persons, or bananas getting riddled with automatic weapon fire are actually dying. Instead, when someone gets downed in Fortnite, a miniature drone will appear and teleport the body off the island where, I guess they go and live on a farm where they can run and play all day. Yes, that'll do. Like everything in Fortnite, this is most likely a fictional layer left over from the Save the World mode that no one played, and that was blown out of the water by the last-minute addition of the much more popular Battle Royale mode. But if we were to spend the time trying to find out what is going on in Fortnite lore, we'd probably also have to figure out just how exactly a 4,000-foot-tall Travis Scott fits into things, and I definitely do not have the time for that.
At the gate outside, when they pull up, they give me loose.
Let's be honest, Superman is the most OP superhero ever. He's basically just a combined list of other individual superheroes' best powers neatly contained in a skin-tight blue onesie. Nightwing, on the other hand, is a regular man who owns a motorbike and is quite good at doing backflips. Not exactly a fair fight, you might think, and you'd be right, because Injustice Gods Among Us needed to come up with an explanation as to why Nightwing, aka Dick Grayson the Backflip Boy, could survive being punched into the Earth's atmosphere and then double axe-handled back to the ground below. Or how Harley Quinn, a former psychologist with no formal combat training, doesn't die from being punched through the centre of the Earth by Doomsday. Luckily for the reputation of the superheroes involved, the developers came up with an explanation for why all these non-supers are able to withstand this ridiculous amount of punishment. It's all thanks to a magic pill created by evil Superman that massively increases the strength and durability of anyone who takes it, meaning they can take stuff like this without you feeling bad about it. Hey, I said it was an explanation. I didn't say it was a good explanation. The Guilty Gear series of fighting games features massive swords, rock and roll witches, and at least one maniacal surgeon armed with a giant scalpel, and as such, aren't really the place for a pacifist trying to avoid violence at all costs. And yet, the character Dizzy is just that, a pacifist who hates conflict and tries to avoid violence wherever possible, which is a pretty good way to get yourself killed if you're a character in a fighting game. Luckily for Dizzy, she has two spirits living in her wings that do most of the fighting for her, with brutally efficient results.
It's not over yet.
Even so, Dizzy still hates violence. All the moves in her move list are named after the actual function that the powerful strikes and flame attacks were meant to be used for, like I use this to catch fish and for roasting chestnuts. She even has a move called Please Leave Me Alone, which, I mean, I would. Most notably though, Dizzy differs from the other characters in her instant kill move. Other characters in Guilty Gear have instant kill moves in which they fire their enemy out of a cannon, or wrap them in explosive chains, or feed them to a giant snake. Not Dizzy though, who actively works against her instant kill to stop the evil one of her sentient wings from killing her opponent. In this move, Necro, the wing that looks like death, powers up a gigantic energy blast that looks like it could level an entire city block. Shocked by this violence, Dizzy actively pushes Necro so that the shot goes wide, and, wow, okay, forget the block, make it the whole city. And unlike all the other instant kills, which give us the word destroyed on screen, Dizzy's instead has the enemy surrender in terror at her destructive power. Wise move, if you ask me.
Dizzy, win, straight.
So there you have it, those were 7 convenient excuses for how you're definitely not a murderer for those who like a clean conscience. Got a favourite we missed? Let us know in the comments, and be sure to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified whenever we upload a video like this one. Thanks for watching.